What is up, everyone? It's your boy mekelkasanova coming at you with yet another video. And in this video I'm going to be talking about Blaster Master Zero for the Nintendo Switch and why this game is phenomenal. For $9.99 you're going to get your money's worth, why you need to play it, and you're about to be educated on the history of Blaster Master in this video. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button and you share it so more people can get involved, they can enjoy the content and have fun with my crazy wacky self. And yeah, it's loud over here. You get to hear all the noise that I hear too. Anyway, make sure you subscribe. Check out the Patreon channel. That way you can help support us and help us grow. Because everything we do here at mekelkasanova is for you guys. So thank you for helping us reach 400 subscribers. It's been a godsend and a joy being able to do this. This has been truly fun. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Roll my intro music, as you guys know I like to say, and let's get the party started.
Do you wanna dance?
Back in 1988, Sunsoft released Blaster Master on the NES, and truthfully it became one of the classic cult hits. It was the story of Jason and his journey to subterranean Metroidvania-style underground that was to find his pet frog, Fred. This title was distinct because it featured various modes of gameplay that alternated between standard 2D platformer, run and gun, and in some sections, a bird's eye overhead zones. Over the years, Sunsoft would go on to release various sequels, which a lot of people are not even aware of. Sequels, successors, and reimaginings across multiple platforms, such as PlayStation, Game Boy Color, and WiiWare, and by different developers as well. Now it is up to Intercreates to attempt an entry, with Blaster Master Zero on the Nintendo Switch. Let's see if it lives up to the 20 plus year legacy. You know, Blaster Master Zero, it plays a lot of tribute to the original NES game. Although it has Zero in the title, it's not really a prequel. But in a way, kind of like a reimagining. It's something of a reboot for the series, if you will. And prior to researching the series more thoroughly, before writing this review and doing the audio recording, I truthfully thought that the series had been rebooted before, but that's not actually the case. See, there is actually a sense of continuity stretching from the NES original to the Sega Genesis sequel, to the Game Boy offshoot, to the Game Boy Color midquel, to the PlayStation sequel, which actually took a unique stance on adopting the continuity of Scholastic's Worlds of Power adaptation into its official continuity. Then there was Blaster Master Overdrive on the WiiWare in 2010, which actually, as near as I can make out from the limited information I could find, seems to serve as a prequel to the other games, despite being billed as a reimagining. So this was the first game to bring back any of the creative team who worked on the original NES, and as near as I can tell, what regard they gave to what came after is up in the air. So, let's see, as I said, Jason is no longer a regular boy, and is now a super genius of some kind. Even Fred the frog is no longer just a regular pet frog and has been supercharged into some sort of mysterious mutant amphibian. Aside from that, the plot is more or less the same, and yep, extra scenes of text boxes with Jason commenting on how he just missed Fred as he tracks his location. There is also the added character Eve, who sometimes doles out incredibly useless information and was added for some cuteness factor, I believe. Jason still chases Fred into a hole and ends up discovering the tank Sophia the 3, or Sophia the 3rd, or Sophia 3, however you want to say it. Intercreates has tried to inject some context into this retelling, but ultimately, none of it really matters since it's just like the NES game. One of the best things about the art style here is the way it looks. It has a crisp anime style, Toonami effect on it. Developer Intercreates did an amazing job with the sprite work. So all the areas you remember from the original Blaster Master are here, and they're looking just as vibrant and colorful as they ever were The same can be said of the characters, as they look just great during cinematic cutscenes, and even in their portraits they look amazing. The music is also very nice, as the tracks are all updated versions of the original music, and they don't stray too far from, the original source content, and they also don't stay their welcome too long, as by the time a track is starting to wear on you, you're already be in another area with a new song. Intercreates is famous for its Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 titles on WiiWare because of how they were so faithful to the old NES classics. It's a development team that truly does have an outstanding understanding of the nuances of 8-bit action and pixel art. And with Blaster Master Zero, it manages to bring the boys to the yard. Anyone who played the NES original will be pleased to know that the Nintendo Switch eShop release controls almost identically to its 8-bit counterpart. The small details like the distinctive jumping physics of Sophia 3 have been faithfully recreated, and the team has even improved the controls in some ways, like adding the ability to perform a running gun and aiming diagonally, and giving Jason a crouch feature and crawl feature as well. Intercreates has hit a hard reset on the series, and shifting its setting from a hole in the back of your yard in the middle of the late 20th century to a post-apocalyptic Earth, wherein the humanity has returned to the surface after spending years underground, following some sort of disaster that drove them there to begin with. This brings us to a new version of Jason Frederick, a young scientist who, discovers a strange life form. So, that gives you the narrative right there. It's a neat shift from the original Blaster Master story, offering a story and setting which is arguably a little easier to swallow than the tale of a boy's pet frog who was mutated by a radioactive barrel in the backyard before hopping down a hole to get lost amongst an underground civilization of mutants. It's a little different, and it does take away Jason's average kid identity, but it's still largely respectful to the original source material that it's even paying heed to at all. In some respects, Intercreates was, in many ways actually too faithful to NES iteration, and they've retained some of its less fine elements, like the inferior, I guess you couldn't say it's inferior, it is what it is, though adjacent of only overhead sections and caves. Now, these parts have all the same issues that the old school titles had, and in some ways they can be worse here in Blaster Master Zero, since the game is truthfully very easy, and as it turns out, most of these caves lead to dead ends, or they're just full of health and ammo pickups. It was making an even easier experience, unnecessarily so. So it's rare, but some of these areas do have bosses in them, which is usually a gauntlet of regular enemies that rush Jason. It's, in many ways, it can feel like a waste, as there could have been more that they could have improved on and differently done. They could have had something like a Zelda-like puzzle or something that's more intense, that would have had them playing out like a twin-stick shooter, but no, they didn't go that route. And as I stated earlier, this game is in the Metroidvania genre. So that means you'll be revisiting areas that you previously were at multiple times, but you'll be finding new paths through them thanks to the great variety of weapons and sub-weapons that you receive from defeating bosses. If you can't reach a particular area of a dungeon because you can't jump underwater yet, then you'll get there through the next couple of areas and then return later after you've acquired a certain power-up. Another nice touch with the game is that, just like its NES counterpart, it doesn't bombard you with tutorials and instructions like a lot of modern games love to do. When you start the game, you're thrown directly into the world without hesitation. And don't worry though, you can always check the controls in the pause menu by pausing and pressing the minus icon on your controller. And later, you can even get hints from your assistant, Eve, on the sub-menu screen with the plus sign. Between the Sophia 3 Metroidvania action and the overhead Jason sections, the former style plays, better. If it's a bit disappointing that even in the tank sections, despite how anyone can make Jason get out of the Sophia 3, Intercreates has not taken advantage of creating light puzzle situations. It could have been interesting to get Jason out of the tank to do a little puzzle solving to open up a path for his tank due to its awkward size, but the only reason he needs to exit Sophia 3 is to go into tedious caves, and the power-ups acquired are not as robust or interesting in Blaster Master Zero, outside of a few items here and there, like the tank's hover boost to get to hard-to-reach places. most of the time the power-ups are kind of brutally overpowered weapons that, you know, especially in Jason's overhead sections, make the game incredibly easy. Even between the two styles of play, the bosses that require the Sophia 3 are much more interesting, and truthfully, they're challenging. But sadly, the tank gets far few bosses than the on-foot Jason portions. And finally, it's worth noting that as of, I've been playing it thus far, it doesn't have the Switch Pro controller support, but eventually that is coming, so it's scheduled to be added via a patch to the game sometime this week. But to be quite honest, I'm pleasantly surprised to find that the directional buttons on the left Joy-Con were able to be sufficiently good. I'm not sure about using an analog stick, however, that didn't work so well with me when I tried the multiplayer mode, but hey, it is what it is. To that end, here's hoping that the multiplayer can also be supported with the Pro Controller. So here's the main rub of this review. My experience with Blastmaster and the series as a whole, truthfully, it's pretty limited. I didn't grow up playing these back in the day, but I have reached back to them to play them once this game was announced. In truth, I played the NES original, and I played the Game Boy Color entry, which is Blastmaster Amy Blow, which was designed by some of the rough equivalent of The Legend of Zelda's Second Quest, the original. I never got very far in the original, but it was, it was pretty freaking hard. Part of that is owed to the fact that you had limited lives, limited continues, and not even the ability to save your game. It's one sitting or nothing. That's not a factor here, as save points are relatively abundant. Lives are unlimited. However, in any case, it's never quite got to grow on me as much as I would have liked it to as a result. But, you know what, Blastmaster Zero, I'll be honest, I've been hooked since I got it. I've had to put The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild aside, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, Nier, even Ghost Recon Wildlands, in order to work on this review. And as much as I'm chomping at the bit to get back to those, you know what, I don't regret it one bit. Because this feels close to the original in many ways, if not all, but the right ways. From the graphics and music to the gameplay, they're all similar to the original, and yet feel slightly enhanced with modernized character designs. You know what, it's also, in my opinion, more accessible, and it's a lot more fun. Overall, Blastmaster Zero is a great comeback for the series. We wouldn't be opposed, us fans, we wouldn't be opposed to seeing the franchise return for a couple more outings. While the bosses and final acts of the game do weigh it down a bit, the game is still tons of fun to play and experience. And if you're a Blastmaster fan or even a newcomer to the series, don't at all hesitate to strap into the Sophia 3 and get blasted. This game gets the Casanova seal of approval, so definitely cop this as soon as possible. And that just about wraps up the review for Blastmaster Zero and why you need to cop it, why it gets the Casanova seal of approval, and why this is just an amazing game overall, okay? It's amazing. So, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Patreon page, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. You guys are always a joy to work with. I'm just so happy to be able to do this for you guys. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Deuces, wow.
Everybody drinks on me. Everybody in this bitch drink for free. Give me a whiskey double. A little bit of Jack is always trouble. And I'm feeling good, like a man with only to prove a reader's wood. Next up, straight to the DJ. Tell him play whatever song she say. Her body is a mystery.